July 7, 1944. 28,000 feet above Stendal, Germany. The steady drone of a Packard-built Merlin fills the cockpit of a P-51B Mustang as sunlight flashes off its long wings. Oxygen hisses softly in Lieutenant Urban Ben, Drew's mask. The sky ahead looks empty, too empty, the kind of calm that makes a fighter pilot uneasy. Drew rolls his shoulders inside the harness and scans left, then right. Flak bursts bloom far below like dirty gray flowers over the rail yards of Stendal. Somewhere beneath that smoke, Germany's war machine is still breathing. Then something streaks across his windscreen. Not diving. Not climbing. Passing. It is silver, needle-slim, and impossibly fast. No propeller disc. No piston vibration. Just a clean, tearing blur that slices through the air with a sound Drew has never heard before. A distant, ripping thunder, deeper than any engine he knows. For half a second, Drew thinks his eyes are lying. Red 2, you see that? He snaps into the radio. Static. Then confusion. Then another pilot swearing. The object is already gone. Drew's heart hammers as he banks hard, searching the sky. The Mustang responds instantly, its laminar flow wings biting into the thin air. He pushes the throttle forward, manifold pressure rising, Merlin roaring. But whatever that thing was, it didn't slow. It didn't even seem to notice him. You feel it with him now, that creeping realization every pilot fears. Something has just rewritten the rules. By the summer of 1944, Drew is no rookie. At 24 years old, he flies with the 361st Fighter Group, escorting B-17s and B-24s deep into Germany. He has survived flak that shreds aluminum like paper. He has seen Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs claw through bomber formations. He knows the enemy's machines as well as his own. But this is different. Back at altitude, Drew forces himself to breathe slowly. The radio crackles with overlapping voices, pilots arguing over what they saw. Couldn't catch it. No prop, swear to God. Must have been diving. Drew doesn't answer. He keeps scanning the horizon, replaying the image in his head. Straight wings. No, swept maybe. Twin exhausts. Hard to say. But one thing is certain. Nothing with a propeller moves like that. Far below, Stendal Airfield comes into view. Long concrete runways, hangars, dispersal revetments carved into the trees. Drew throttles back slightly, circling wide. The bombers are already turning for home. Escort duty is nearly done. That's when he sees them again. 2 aircraft are approaching the field at low altitude, shallow descent, wings rocking gently. From above, they look almost peaceful, like sharks gliding toward the surface. Jets. The word feels unreal, even in his own mind. They are moving slower now, much slower, landing configuration gear down. And suddenly, the impossible speed Drew witnessed earlier makes terrible sense. Whatever power drives them, it isn't meant for loitering. It's meant for straight-line killing. Drew's training screams at him to stay high, stay fast, stay with the group. But instinct, that quiet, lethal voice that keeps pilots alive, says this is the only chance he will ever get. He rolls the Mustang over and dives. The altimeter unwinds rapidly. Wind howls over the canopy as the P-51 accelerates, gravity pressing Drew into the seat. He lines up behind the trailing jet, the K-14 gun sight settling like a predator's eye. At 1,500 feet, he can finally see it clearly. Twin engines mounted under the wings. Smooth fuselage. Balkan crews on the side. Messerschmitt Me 262. Germany's secret weapon. The rumors whispered in intelligence briefings, the sketches that never quite made sense, is suddenly real and filling his gun sight. The jet's pilot hasn't seen him. Drew closes to firing range, thumb tightening on the trigger. The Mustang shudders as 6.50 caliber Brownings erupt, tracer rounds streaking forward. The distance collapses in seconds. Rounds hammer into the jet's left engine. A flash. A cough of flame. The Me-262 lurches violently, yawing toward the ground. Drew pulls up hard, barely missing the runway, his Mustang screaming past at treetop height. Flak bursts from the airfield defenses, black puffs snapping around him as German gunners finally wake up. His fuel gauge is dropping fast. His hands are slick with sweat. And somewhere behind him, another jet is still in the sky. July 7, 1944. Stendal Airfield, Germany. Seconds after the first attack. Flak bursts claw at the air behind Urban Drew's Mustang as he skims just above the trees, the Merlin engine howling at full military power. The runway flashes past beneath his left wing. Concrete. Smoke. Fire. The Me-262 he hit is no longer flying, it is falling. Drew risks a glance over his shoulder. The jet's left engine is engulfed, flame pouring from the nacelle like a ruptured furnace. The aircraft cartwheels, slams into the far end of the field, and detonates in a dirty orange flash that sends debris spinning skyward. No parachute. No time to think about it. Because the second jet is still airborne. Drew yanks the stick, hauling the Mustang into a climbing turn. The G-forces bite into his chest, oxygen mask tugging at his face. His airspeed bleeds fast, too fast, but he has to get his nose up. He has to see. The Me-262 roars past beneath him in a silver blur, jet exhaust ripping the air apart. The sound is unlike anything Drew has heard, not the steady thunder of pistons, but a continuous scream, mechanical and inhuman. The German pilot knows now. You can feel the balance shift in the sky. The hunter has realized it is not alone. Drew levels out at barely 2,000 feet, scanning frantically. Fuel warning light flickers. He has seconds, maybe one pass left, before he must run for friendly airspace. The jet climbs sharply, bleeding speed in the turn. That is its weakness. Drew sees it clearly now, the truth that no intelligence report has yet written down. At low speed, the jet is vulnerable. The Me-262 levels out, beginning its landing pattern, or perhaps trying to escape down the runway. Drew pushes the throttle through the gate, the Merlin answering with everything it has left. The Mustang surges forward, airframe vibrating, propeller biting hard. For a brief, impossible moment, the distance between piston and jet closes. The gun sight settles. Drew squeezes the trigger again. The Brownings hammer, their recoil shuddering through the wings. Tracers walk across the jet's fuselage, stitching aluminum, smashing into the right engine. There is a flash, then smoke, then a sudden violent yaw. The Me-262 loses lift. It slams into the ground just beyond the runway, skidding, breaking apart in a storm of sparks and twisted metal. Fire blooms upward, black smoke rolling into the sky. 2 jets. 2 kills. Silence floods the cockpit. Drew doesn't cheer. He doesn't speak. His mouth is dry, his heart pounding so hard it feels like it might crack a rib. Flak still snaps around him, but his mind is already racing ahead. Get out. For a brief, impossible moment, the distance between piston and jet closes. The gun sight settles. Drew squeezes the trigger again. The Brownings hammer, their recoil shuddering through the wings. Tracers walk across the jet's fuselage, stitching aluminum, smashing into the right engine. There is a flash, then smoke, then a sudden violent yaw. The Me-262 loses lift. It slams into the ground just beyond the runway, skidding, breaking apart in a storm of sparks and twisted metal. Fire blooms upward, black smoke rolling into the sky. 2 jets. 2 kills. Silence floods the cockpit. Drew doesn't cheer. He doesn't speak. His mouth is dry, his heart pounding so hard it feels like it might crack a rib. Flak still snaps around him, but his mind is already racing ahead. Get out. He shoves the throttle forward and drops to treetop level, weaving hard. German guns track him, tracers streak past, slicing the air, but speed and chaos are on his side now. Within seconds, Stendhal is falling away behind him, swallowed by smoke and distance. Only when the flak fades does Drew allow himself to climb. At altitude, the radio comes alive again. Red 1 say again, you got 2. Holy hell, Ben, what were those things? Drew swallows, forcing his voice steady. Jets, he says. They were landing, that's the only reason. There is a pause, the kind filled with disbelief. Back over friendly territory, Drew finally throttles back, Merlin settling into a steady hum. His fuel needle is nearly kissing empty. His hands begin to shake now that the danger has passed. When he lands, ground crews swarm the Mustang, counting holes in the wings and fuselage. One crew chief whistles low. You're lucky, he mutters. Real lucky. Drew doesn't answer. His mind is still over Germany, replaying the moment that silver shape tore across his canopy, the moment the future appeared without warning. Within hours, intelligence officers arrive. They usher Drew into a briefing room, maps spread across tables, photographs pinned to boards. He describes everything, speed, sound, engines, the way the aircraft handled in turns. They listen in silence. One officer finally exhales and rubs his face. So the rumors were true. Drew leans forward, exhaustion heavy in his bones. They're fast, he says. Faster than anything we've got, but they can't fight slow, and they have to land. The room goes quiet. Everyone understands the implication. Germany's miracle weapon bleeds, but only if caught at the right moment. Outside, Mustangs roar into the sky again, escorting bombers deeper into the Reich. Somewhere ahead, more jets are warming up on hidden runways, their engines screaming toward a future that arrived too late. And Urban Drew, the man who barely escaped them, has just changed the air war forever. July 8, 1944. 361st Fighter Group Headquarters, Bottisham Airfield, England. Rain drums softly against the tin roof as cigarette smoke hangs low in the briefing hut. A large aerial photograph of central Germany is pinned to the wall, corners curling. Red grease pencil marks slash across rail yards, oil plants, and now something new. Runways. Lieutenant Urban Drew stands near the map table, flight jacket unzipped, eyes rimmed red from lack of sleep. Across from him sit intelligence officers, squadron commanders, and a pair of men who do not wear unit insignia at all. One of them clears his throat. Lieutenant, walk us through it again, from first contact. Drew nods, jaw tight. Time was approximately 1440 hours. Altitude 28,000. I saw a single aircraft cross my nose at extreme speed, level flight. No prop, twin exhausts. A pencil scratches notes. When did you realize you could engage? When they slowed to land, Drew answers immediately. That's the key. They're untouchable up high, but on approach they're heavy, sluggish. Murmurs ripple through the room. A colonel steps forward, tapping the photo. This is Stendhal. Recon confirms wreckage consistent with the Me 262 German jet fighter. The word jet still sounds experimental, half science fiction. Yet no one laughs. Because Drew is standing right there. Another officer speaks quietly. You understand what this means, son. Drew exhales. He does. Everyone in the room does. For months, Allied pilots have owned the skies over Western Europe. Luftwaffe resistance has thinned. Escorts range freely to Berlin. Air superiority feels, for the first time, secure. And now something has arrived that can outrun every fighter they have. If they deploy these in numbers, the officer continues, trailing off. Drew finishes it for him. Bombers die. Silence. The colonel straightens. Which is why what you've given us matters. The Me 262 isn't invincible. It's a predator, but only at speed. Catch it slow and it's just another airplane. Orders are issued before the meeting even ends. Fighter groups are instructed to patrol known jet bases. Mustangs are to loiter near airfields, not chase jets at altitude, but wait for them. Takeoff. Landing. The narrow windows where physics betrays German engineering. Within days, whispers spread through the 8th Air Force. Jets are real. They can be killed. Back across the channel in Germany, the shockwave hits even harder. Lechfeld Air Base, Bavaria. Mid-July 1944. Mechanics cluster around a burned-out Me-262 wreck, blackened metal still radiating heat. Officers argue in clipped, furious tones. A Luftwaffe major slams his fist against a table. "They were shot down on approach," he snaps. "On our own field." The truth is humiliating. The Reich's most advanced weapon, years in development, has been ambushed like a wounded animal. Worse, it confirms what German engineers have warned for months. Jet engines are fragile. Throttle changes can flame them out. Runways must be long, smooth, predictable. And predictable means vulnerable. Back in England, Drew returns to flying almost immediately. There is no medal ceremony. No newspaper headlines. The war is too big, moving too fast. But among pilots his name spreads. On July 25th, he is back over Germany when it happens again. High above the clouds, a single Me-262 streaks past his formation, untouchable, untouching. It doesn't even bother to engage. It doesn't have to. Drew watches it vanish and feels the same cold certainty as before. This is the future. But the future has a weakness, and now everyone knows where to find it. That night Drew sits on his bunk, cleaning his sidearm out of habit. The base is quiet except for distant engines and the rattle of rain. He thinks about the German pilot he never saw parachute. Thinks about the machine that should not have existed yet. The war is accelerating. Technology is no longer evolving, it is leaping. And somewhere ahead, beyond Germany, beyond this conflict, jets will rule the skies. Faster, higher, deadlier. But on July 7th, 1944, over a smoking airfield called Stendal, a Mustang with a propeller proved that even tomorrow can be shot down if you catch it at exactly the right moment.